Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping into some really powerful verses from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, and what they do is challenge the very definition of what it means to be righteous. It's a call to move way beyond just following the rules and into a much, much deeper transformation of the heart.
So right out of the gate, Jesus sets this incredibly high bar. You have to remember, the scribes and Pharisees, these guys were the religious experts. They were known for following every single rule, right down to the letter. But Jesus says, that's just the baseline, not the finish line. Just going through the motions on the outside isn't going to cut it. So what in the world does this exceeding righteousness actually look like in practice? Well, to explain, Jesus gives us his first case study. He takes one of the most famous of the 10 Commandments, "You shall not commit adultery," and he turns it completely inward. He's showing us that God's law is concerned with a whole lot more than just our physical actions.
And here, he just completely flips the script. The focus shifts from the external act to the internal desire. Now, this is so key because it reveals where sin truly begins. It's not in the final act, it's in the heart. You see, a person won't commit adultery without first entertaining those lustful thoughts. And Jesus teaches that if in your heart you would commit the act if you only had the chance, then before God, it's as if you've already done it.
The story of King David and Bathsheba is a perfect and tragic example of this. It all started with just a single look from his rooftop, but that look gave way to lust, which then led to the act of adultery, and when that sin was about to be exposed, David's cover-up spiraled into arranging the murder of Bathsheba's husband. This whole chain of events shows exactly why Jesus was so focused on stopping sin at its source, that very first thought.
So this intense focus on the root of sin leads to one of Jesus' most shocking statements. He says that if your right eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. If your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. I mean, wow. Was he really commanding self-mutilation? No, of course not. He was using a powerful literary device called hyperbole. Extreme exaggeration to make a point you absolutely cannot miss. And the crucial point is the need for radical spiritual discipline. Think about it. The eye introduces the temptation, and the hand performs the act. Jesus is teaching that it is far, far better to ruthlessly cut temptation out of your life, no matter how painful it might seem, than to let it fester and destroy your entire soul.
Okay, now let's see how this same principle builds. Jesus applies this same internal standard to another area where external rules were being seriously misused: the practice of divorce.
You see, the law from Deuteronomy, which was originally meant to protect a divorced woman, was being twisted into this convenient legal loophole. Some men, driven by the very same lust Jesus just talked about, would legally dismiss their wives just so they could marry someone else. And in their minds, hey, as long as the paperwork was correct, they were totally blameless. As Pastor Jacob Gerber puts it, the focus was all on the external process, not the sacredness of the marriage covenant itself. And this just perfectly illustrates the kind of righteousness Jesus was condemning. Legalism isn't about honoring God's law, it's about finding clever ways to get around what it actually means. So Jesus just decisively closes this loophole. He elevates marriage right back to its sacred status, and he declares that divorce for any reason other than sexual immorality is a violation of that covenant. In fact, he says the man actually causes his unjustly divorced wife to commit adultery if she remarries, and he makes her new husband an adulterer too. Why? Because in God's eyes, that original sacred bond isn't so easily broken.
So the core principle in both of these examples, adultery and divorce, is this: Jesus is lifting God's law from just external compliance to total internal transformation. The righteousness that gets you into the kingdom of heaven isn't just about avoiding bad behavior. It's about getting rid of the lust, the selfishness, and the pride that cause it in the first place. It's all about guarding the heart itself.
This ancient teaching is incredibly relevant today. It really challenges us to look past our actions and examine our deepest intentions, our deepest desires. And it leaves us with a pretty provocative thought. In a world that offers endless temptations with just a click and easy exits from our biggest commitments, what radical steps are we willing to take to deal with the root of sin in our own lives?